Imagine a world where you can just talk to your devices, and they get what you mean. Like, ditch the clunky interfaces and menus, you know?
Take the Jetsons, right.
Exactly. That's the potential of conversational AI, and today we're going to do a deep dive on one company that's right in the thick of it, SoundHound AI.
You know, what's really interesting about SoundHound is they're not just trying to build another voice assistant.
Yeah, like competing directly with Siri or Alexa or something.
Right. They're actually creating the core tech that powers all sorts of voice-enabled experiences.
Oh, I see. So they're kind of like the behind-the-scenes brains of the operation.
Exactly. And the article we're looking at today, Why SoundHound AI's Growth Could Triple in 2025, argues they're on the verge of some pretty massive growth.
Triple. Okay, so color me intrigued. What's driving this potential explosion?
Well, first off, their revenue growth has been pretty stellar, like a whopping 88.6% increase just last quarter. But what really sets them apart, according to the article, is their focus on what they call deep technology.
Deep technology, huh? Sounds impressive, but what does that actually mean?
Basically, it means they're building the platform that other companies can use to bake voice interaction right into their own products and services.
So they're not just going after the consumer market with their own voice assistant. They're powering the conversational AI experiences for a whole bunch of industries.
You got it. And think about the possibilities there. Cars, homes, workplaces, you name it. If SoundHound's vision pans out, pretty much everything could be voice-enabled in the near future.
Yeah, I can see how that kind of reach could translate into serious growth. But is this all just hype, or are they actually delivering on their promises?
Well, the article highlights some pretty big names already using their tech. Hyundai's using it in their cars, Snap for voice-enabled filters, Pandora for music streaming. Even Chipotle and Casey's General Stores are getting in on the action.
Wow, so it's not just limited to tech companies, it's making inroads in all sorts of industries.
And what's even more intriguing is SoundHound has this pattern of constantly exceeding expectations. They keep raising their own financial guidance throughout the year, suggesting they might be growing even faster than they initially predicted.
That's impressive. But wait, can you back up a sec? For those of us who aren't finance whizzes, what exactly does raising their financial guidance mean?
Sure, financial guidance is basically a company's prediction about how they'll perform in the future, things like revenue and profit. When they raise their guidance, it means they think they'll do even better than they first thought.
Gotcha. So it's not just that they're growing, but they're exceeding even their own optimistic projection.
Exactly.
Okay, that definitely adds to the intrigue. But what about the financial risks? The article did mention SoundHound's still operating at a loss, right?
Right, they are. But that's not necessarily a red flag in this case. They're investing a ton of money in research and development, expanding their team, building out their infrastructure, all that good stuff.
So basically, they're spending big now to try to dominate the market later on. It's a gamble, but a potentially lucrative one.
Exactly. They're betting big on the future of conversational AI, and so far, it seems to be paying off.
This is fascinating stuff. We focused on SoundHound specifically, but what about the bigger picture? Where does this all fit into the evolution of conversational AI in general?
That's a great question. And to answer it, we need to look beyond just SoundHound's financial performance and delve into their underlying approach to conversational AI. That's where things get really interesting.
So we've established that SoundHound's doing something pretty unique in the conversational AI space. They're building the engine, not just the car, so to speak. But what does that actually mean for the average person? How will this tech actually impact our lives?
Well, think about how we interact with tech today. It's a lot of typing, swiping, clicking. SoundHound's vision is a world where we can just talk naturally to our devices like we're talking to another person.
That sounds pretty awesome, especially for people who aren't super comfortable with all the techie stuff. But honestly, I still have trouble sometimes getting my smart speaker to understand what I'm saying. How is SoundHound different? Are they saying they've solved the whole speech recognition problem?
They're pushing the boundaries for sure, but it's not just about understanding individual words, It's
Right.
about understanding the whole context, the intent, even the emotions behind what you're saying.
Wow, so it's not just, hey, play my favorite song. It's actually having a back and forth.
Right. It's like the difference between giving a command and having a conversation. And that's where their focus on deep technology really comes into play. They're not just slapping a voice interface on top of existing systems.
You're saying we could be headed toward a future where we're not just telling our devices what to do, but actually having conversations with them, getting advice, personalized recommendations, maybe even just chit-chatting.
That's certainly where things seem to be heading. And as these AI systems get smarter, they'll be able to handle more complex tasks, provide more in-depth insights, even anticipate what we need before we even ask.
It's kind of mind-blowing, but also a little scary. If we become so reliant on these super smart AI systems, what happens to our own brains? Do we risk losing certain skills if we're outsourcing so much to machines?
That's a really important question, and one researchers are definitely looking into. We want AI to make our lives better, but we don't want to become so dependent on it that we can't think for ourselves anymore.
Right, we don't want to become like those people in movies who can't even remember a phone number without asking their AI assistant.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about the ethical side of things.
Okay.
AI that can understand us on such a deep level, that raises some red flags, right? What about privacy? What about the potential for manipulation?
You're absolutely right. As conversational AI gets more advanced, we have to develop clear ethical guidelines and safeguards. We need to make sure these systems are being used responsibly and that our data is protected.
So this isn't just about the tech itself, it's about the bigger societal implications.
Exactly. It's a conversation we need to have as a society before it's too late.
It's almost like we need a new set of rules for the age of AI, a social contract that makes sure these technologies are used for good and don't end up controlling us.
That's a powerful way to put it. We're still writing the story of conversational AI, and we all have a role to play in making sure it has a happy ending.
All right, so we've talked about the potential of conversational AI, the challenges in developing it, and the ethical considerations. It seems like this isn't just about our devices getting smarter, it's about our whole relationship with technology changing, maybe even how we interact with the world, right?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It has the potential to be incredibly powerful, but like any powerful tool, it can be used in both good and bad ways. It really all comes down to the choices we make individually and as a society.
Okay, but where do we even begin to figure out these ethical dilemmas? It feels like such a massive, complex issue. Honestly, I'm not even sure where to start.
It can definitely feel overwhelming, but I think the first step is simply being aware of it. You know,
Yeah.
the more we understand how this tech works, the potential benefits and the risks, the better equipped we are to make informed decisions and push for responsible development.
Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
But just knowing about it isn't enough, is it?
Yeah.
We also need to set some ground rules, like some ethical frameworks, to make sure conversational AI is developed and used in a way that aligns with our values.
Oh, absolutely. And there are already organizations and initiatives working on that kind of thing, but it's a constant process because the technology is evolving so fast, it's like playing catch up. And there's no single solution that fits every situation. Different cultures and societies will have different ideas about what's ethical, you know?
So it's more about keeping the conversation going, constantly evaluating and adjusting as we go.
Exactly. And that conversation needs to include a wide range of voices, not just the engineers and developers, but ethicists, social scientists, policymakers, and regular people, too.
This whole deep dive has left me with more questions than answers,
Hmm.
but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's made me realize we can't just sit back and let this tech happen to us, you know? We need to be actively involved, question things, and hold the people creating it accountable.
I think that's a great takeaway. It's easy to get caught up in all the cool new gadgets and features, but it's crucial to remember that technology is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. We're the ones who decide which direction it goes.
And this brings me back to SoundHound. We've talked about their impressive growth and their deep technology focus, but what about their ethical stance? What are they doing to make sure they're developing and using this tech responsibly?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Unfortunately, this article we've been discussing didn't really go into detail on that. But judging from what they've said publicly and the partnerships they've formed, it seems like they're at least aware of the ethical implications and are involved in those conversations.
I guess we'll have to wait and see how their actions match up with their words as they continue to grow.
Exactly. And that's something we can all do as consumers and citizens. Support companies that are thinking about these ethical issues, demand transparency, and hold them accountable if they don't live up to their promises.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And to our listeners, I hope this deep dive has given you some things to think about. As conversational AI becomes more and more a part of our lives, it's super important to stay informed, think critically, and make your voices heard.
It's been great exploring these complex and fascinating topics with you today.
The pleasure was all mine.
Yeah.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.